Welcome back to the table, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the 1812 starter box from the Wargaming Company for the game Et Sans Resultat. ESR. And this is the French and Russian starter. So first of all, I want to say that if you are new to the channel, I know very little about Napoleonics. This is my initial entry point into Napoleonics gaming. I have a friend who is an extensive Napoleonics player, and he's got lots of figures but in a different scale than this. So this is my initial entry point. So from that point of view, just bear with me. But if you're also new, this is something I wanted to create for the community, sharing my experience getting into Napoleonics, products available, and I'm focusing on ESR because ESR, I think so far, makes it easy to get into the gaming. And here's what I mean by that. If you haven't watched my why I'm getting into Napoleonics, I'll just summarize. I'm jumping into ESR specifically because, one, customer service has been great. David there has been fantastic for me. Very helpful. He's very active on the Facebook page, answering questions for people. So I think that's great there. If things come up I'm not sure about, boom, there's a community right there helping out. Two, the biggest problem I had with getting into Napoleonics was which figures do I get? Does it matter what company? Because so many different companies make Napoleon. It's just, it's huge. But with ESR, you have the rule books, you've got these boxes of figures ready to go that match the campaign books and things that you're playing. It's like they went out of their way to make sure that everything you would need to play at some point, they have support for it. And this is why I'm getting into Napoleonics with ESR. So I'm about to pull stuff out. I'm super excited to see what comes in here. So the contents, we have one French infantry division, which has a formation commander, 2 Leger infantry battalions, 6 Ligne, I hope that's how you pronounce it, infantry battalions, 1 6-pounder foot artillery battery, and 1 Reformation area, and then a French cavalry regiment, which has the formation commander, 2 chasseurs à cheval squadrons, and a Reformation area. And then Russian force, which has got a Reformation area, formation commander, 2 Jaeger battalions, 6 infantry battalions, 1 6-pounder foot artillery battery, and then also a Russian cavalry. Plus, and this is neat too, because even with the more traditional that I was looking at, I'd have to buy the figures, and the figures just come in a box. You get, like, depending on your scale, but you then have to base them, and then finding battle flags and things off the internet or however you do it. Like, there's a lot of work involved, but all that's taken care of here with ESR. So we've got 10 millimeter. I already see a horsey. I'll pull the camera down at some point and we'll start to look. But we have here bases, and there's some flags. It's tiny. The friend I play with, he does in 1/72nd scale, so it's about twice the size of these, and the flags are much bigger there. These are tiny. These are tiny flags, so I'm glad there's some here for me. There's first squadron, other squadrons. All right, so we got the bases, and more flags. That's awesome. That's so cool. Let me tell you, having flags on your units is much cooler than it might seem, but it does look impressive to see these guys lined up and they've all got battle flags. So having flags here, awesome. Love it. Here's some of the foot artillery. All right, so they're labeled for me. And that's usually the wagon train for the artillery too. So I'm learning that artillery, it's not only just the cannon piece, but then there's the supply train for the cannon. So there's an artillery unit. RU for Russian, I'm assuming. And then we have here, I can't quite read the label on that, but this is probably a Reformation area. Yep, Reformation area, and I think this is Russian. So this has got your wagons and things for all the supplies in the back. And if we gently tip, got some padding there. Here's some more figures. This is your infantry, Russian infantry. And then we've got some more Russians commanders. That means we got some French coming up here. I think, yeah, so far all Russian. Then we have here Russian Jaegers. I'm sure here come the French. Bases. So here we've got bases and flags for the French. And there's French 6-pounder artillery. Again, this is just, I didn't even look to see if this is lead or pewter. It just says metal. But they are tiny, so we'll pull some out of their bags here. There's the Laguerre. And here's Chasseurs. And again, I apologize if the pronunciation is wrong, because not only is French not my language, but since I'm not familiar with the terminology of Napoleonics, it's a learning process for me. And then this is a Reformation area for the French. And I'm glad there's little labels here. The Ligne, probably line troops. And then I think this is French commanders. Perfect. That's a lot. And the bases are really good looking. They're pretty thick. I'm going to pull these out. Looks like they're laser cut. Yeah, that's pretty thick too. That is a sturdy wood. I think this will be good. I've used some thinner type wood before, where once you glue it and stuff, it starts to kind of swell in spots and warp a little bit. But this looks really sturdy. I don't think we'll have too much troubles with gluing things down. I know you might be saying, well, what kind of glue are you using that swell? Well, depending on what I'm doing. If it's like flock, then it's like Elmer's glue and similar things, and that's a very wet glue. And I've used, like with cardboard or whatever, tends to swell. But like this is a super thick wood. I don't think I'll have any problems basing these. And then I'll use super glue to put the metal figures down onto it when they're done painting. And again, a lot of flags here for them. I didn't see, okay, so there's this package here of flags. This has, I'm not sure if this is just a big separate package of French and Russian flags, but there are a lot of flags here. I'm going to see if I can pull some of these out without damaging them. Might have to do some research to find out what goes where. Yeah, that's small print. It's almost like they had a larger page and then, shrunk it down to an appropriate scale. So that tiny writing, I can't tell. Green, probably Russian. So we'll see here. Like there's a Novosibirsk issued, Neva issued, Sofia issued, Lithuania issued. So this might all be Russian flags. There might not be too many. Might not be any French in there. That's okay. I've got some French flags here, but that's something I'll learn. I'll figure out. But this will give you very specific units. Looks like. Yeah, that's very cool. That is so cool. Well, I'm going to start amassing a flag collection, it appears. So I'm going to put those back. So what I'll do now is let's move the camera down, and you can see. Now, normally I'll probably prime all of these white, and then I'm going to work with the GW contrast paints to try and, because those will shade things a little bit. I got to be careful with that, otherwise your figures start to look kind of pastel and kind of cartoony, which might not be too bad, but we'll have to see. All right, I'm going to move the camera down. Let's see if we can capture how these look. Try and keep it in camera here. Yeah, because they are kind of small. And like anything, you have to clean them up a little bit. I'll probably have to shave down the metal here on the bottom just to help them sit flat, because that's not sitting flat on its own. Once you glue it to a base, no big deal, but I think what will help is I'll just have to shave all these down. So there's a little bit of prep work that's going to go into these, but at least on this one, I don't see a lot of flash or, metal parts jig-jagging out that I got to break off. So that's good. It would be very fun to watch them go through the process of casting these and then how they package them. But this is some of the French commanders. Now he did mention in his note, I think I can go online and there's like a basing guide. So on their website it will tell me like how many figures go on a base and whatnot. So I'll research that at some point. But first I got to paint them. So remember, you might see a few games where just these bases are being pushed around with just a label of what they are before you see a lot of painted stuff on here. Because I am a very slow painter, and this is going to be a lot of figures. But the horses and their commanders seem all right. It'll be easier to see the detail once I have them primed. The primer really helps to get rid of the shiny, for one. That also makes it easier to see the details on the figure. But yeah, they got big hats, horse tails. You can see like some of the individual strands of hair. I can see just a little bit of cleaning up that I would do. Some of this I could probably just do with a X-Acto blade. Problem is, too, making sure that what you're cutting off, is that really supposed to be off? Because that's the last thing I want to do is start cutting stuff off and be like, oh, that was actually part of the figure. But I'm looking here, you probably can't see it on the camera, but there's a little bit of a mold line on the horse tail there, on the hair, and I don't really see one here. So I think overall these will be fine. And again, I just got to trim this down a little bit and up. Yeah, I know I'm dulling the blade. It's what I had handy, but I'm going to see if I've got a file that I can use that will more appropriately trim those bases down. And luckily, there's only 240 figures that come in the box. That shouldn't take very long at all. So that's kind of my painting goal until I understand how to paint these guys, because there is some detail. Let's see, that's the commanders. Let's just grab, for grins, this is a line, French line. And we'll have to see how many poses they have. Here's a flag dude. The only problem with pewter is straightening out flags, poles, the bent pewter. Gotta be very careful. There you go, I can straighten that out a little bit. But once I have these primed, it will be easier to see. I mean, it really looks like I'll do boots. You prime them white. I know some people have like light gray pants and things like that, but to start with, everybody's going to have white pants. So they're going to have white pants. I could easily do some black boots. Sometimes they get like black hats or a specific color. Do the shako and wrap the flag. Yeah. I forgot the contrast paint does really good for the flesh because it really darkens the crevices, and like the raised portions of the fingers are usually colored really well. So this is just going to take like a drop, just drops of paint. So these should paint up pretty well. Yeah, I was joking with my friend. I said, yeah, I'll just paint one figure a day because I am not a strong, dedicated painter. And he said, okay, cool. We'll be ready for our first game in April of 2021. So unless things change, that might be where we're at. But that looks good. Let's see what some of these rifle. That's the other thing too, is then I got to sort it out and figure who's going on the base. Like, are these all the same pose? So there's his bayonet. Yeah, I'm afraid of straightening because then I'm like, well, did I over straighten it or is that good? And it is kind of hard to see the details, but I can see like, okay, that must be the belt. Maybe that's a shoulder epaulette. Yes, I'm probably saying it wrong. Sorry. Looks like he's got a dangly off his helmet. Or actually, it's a big hat, not a helmet. And it looks like there's some kind of insignia here. And he's got a dangly off the hat, top part of the hat. Of course, there's his bayonet rifle there. Yeah, so like the face and the hands will be just a little daub of paint. And then, of course, if you paint like the backpack, you might have a couple colors there. So, yeah, a little bit of detail to work with, but should paint up pretty quickly. Let's see. I'm going to open up one of the Reformation areas because those come with the wagons. And they'll go on the long base. I'm just going to grab a long base. Alright, Reformation. Dragoons, Jaegers, Reformation area. French. Oh, I do see some bent. What is, oh man, yeah. Gotta be very careful with that. Oh, this is my fear with pewter. It's such a soft metal. You gotta go real slow. I'm trying very carefully to straighten that out. Now, here's what I really hate about pewter. Let's say you get it all straightened out, and then you take a picture of it, and then you can see how not straight it is. Pewter is one of the worst things to work with, but there we go. That's part of it. This will never be straight. Never be straight enough. I will always see it curved and want to mess with it, but that's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good. That one didn't warp too badly. And I'll have to look to see how much of this is like flash or a removable piece. I think that can safely come off. So that's off. Okay, so these Reformation area wagons are going to have just a little more work on them. But again, I'm going to hold off. Well, okay, that just came right off. Okay, well, it's off now. And I'm hoping that comes off. They got little nubs here, so I'll fiddle with it. But there's 2 wagon bases. We got wheels. And great. Here's some pieces. I don't have a clue. I'm pretty sure I have no idea what that is. I see a little hook. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to look to see if they have some assembly instructions for me. But here's a wagon. Okay, so this is the Reformation area, and I'm seeing possibly 1 wagon. So 1 wagon. See if I can sort that out. So we got a wagon. And this is cool. This is a portable forge. I think that's a billow, and then there's the little work area with coal. Maybe. That is way, way cool. How's that going to fit on here? I see holes and pegs, so maybe. I tell you, it's going to take me a little while to figure out. So in addition to the basing guide, I hope they have some assembly instructions, because I know you're going to have some horses here. There's going to be a certain amount of horses per. There's usually, I guess, the pictures I've seen, there's like usually 1 or 2 horses with people on it. So maybe there's like 2 up front, 2 with people, and then like 4 horses behind, and then we'll have, or something. So I'm hoping we can find something that will give me an idea how to square that away. But that was cool. I can't wait to paint some of that. I'd like to see how that turns out, what color the wagons need to be and whatnot. So that's good. Again, just be aware, little flimsy. But really, honestly, I don't need to open all the little baggies, because you've seen some horses and you've seen some people on horses. But here's a horse, a little more detail maybe for you, is I can see some of the barding around it. You know, like the harnessing. There's a little bit of harnessing there. You can paint your horse however you want. A mane there, you know, the tail. So I guess you could paint, give them white socks. And you got the wagons. The wagons don't seem to have much. My friend, he said he was doing up some wagons and trying to make like some Reformation areas. But obviously the 20 millimeter scale is, I guess, you know, I don't know exactly how close to twice the size as 10 mil is, but how that would translate. But his wagons looked really big, and he said after painting about 8 wagons to make Reformation areas and the wagons that follow artillery, he said, I don't want to paint any more wagons. So these are smaller, so this might not be too bad. Just find a couple colors that you like and paint them up, and there you go. So working in 10mm might be great. I can see why maybe some people prefer 6mm, because again, so much smaller, little dabs of paint and you're done. So I'm feeling much more confident about jumping into painting these than I did before. But like I said in the beginning though, when I play with these, you might just see blank bases until I can actually get all this painted. Well, we'll put these away and then we'll kind of wrap up. So thank you for hanging out while I chit chat, show you a couple of these models here, miniatures, and make sure I don't miss any of the wagon wheels. It looks like the wagon wheels have just a little bit of excess little bits that I can pop off here. Put it on camera there, just a little bit. When I was talking to David, I was saying I might have to break down one day and do like a painting live type of thing where I just kind of start like a live YouTube, and what do? It's just me painting and kind of do the hangout chat. Alright, so we get the horses, more wheels. This is tiny. Assembling these, I can tell, are going to be difficult. But luckily, I have a little experience assembling some GHQ World War II ships, and those have, I don't even know what that is. I see something. God, it's so tiny. It's like a lantern. That almost makes me think that's a lantern. So that's cool. I got lanterns for nighttime operations. But a little bit of GQ, because some of that stuff has some very small secondaries that have to go onto things. So I have a little bit of experience, so hopefully that will come into handy with assembling these, that experience. Oof. Alright, wagon wheels are back in. Put the Reformation area French back in there, and we're good. So what comes in your box? Let's go ahead and come back up here. So first of all, thank you for watching that to the end. I hope that gives you an idea of what comes in your box and maybe a little bit of what your workload will look like if you want to fully paint everything. But this is the Et Sans Resultat 1812 starter box set. French Russians. It even says here 2-player core set. They do have a couple more 2-player core sets. They also sell just you can get like an Austrian army box, a Russian army box, which has about the same amount of figures, but then it's all dedicated for, you know, Russians or French. And this retails about $120 US for the box. But again, you're getting all your figures, and I think what makes that even better of a value is the fact that you're going to get your bases. My friend has said, well, that's great if this is the base sizes you want to play with. Very true. You know, and he mentions that because he likes to try different Napoleonic sets too, and he was already thinking, well, what could I use this game with? These base sizes don't look too far off from what he uses on his Napoleon's Battle, so I guess if you had to, you could base these up, paint them up, and still use them for other games. But that's here. Plus you get your flags. So they've already researched out, you got your flags. So that's, I think, that to me is some of the stuff that's most helpful. Already have the bases. I didn't have to make a separate purchase. Oh, you know what, and I mentioned this in the other video, but let me mention that here in this video as I put stuff away. This is stuff that was sent to me by the Wargaming Company for the purpose of making like an unboxing video, and then eventually, you know, possibly playing the game with these. I would love to have these painted by the time I start playing. However, I'm an impatient person, so you may not see all of these figures mounted when we start because it's going to take time to paint and mount, honestly. And what I want to do is get to the game and start playing and learning. So you're going to see through the different battle reports going forward these in different states of completion. So, you know, I don't know if I probably mentioned it. I say things a lot. I don't know if I told you guys, but you might just see some games where you might have 1 or 2 bases with painted figures and they're flocked, and the rest are just empty bases with unit labels. But you know, you do what you got to do when you're learning a game. All right, that is the box though. Go check out the website, Wargaming Company, and you'll see they have, I didn't memorize the list, but again, they have starter army boxes, or if you're getting into this for yourself too, you can get a 2-player core set. It gives you a couple of formations, so you can start learning the game and moving a couple of formations around, and then expand for there. And again, the nice thing is the box sets and the figures all line up with the rules that they have. So if you're just hopping in as well, everything you need is right there at their storefront. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.